Have you ever looked at the emoji in your phones? I mean, really looked at them. What do you think you would learn about ourselves, our world, and the visual art of communication? The idea I would like to share with you today is the culture of emoji. What I mean by this is emoji is a large part of our culture of communication. And within the emoji that we have in our phone is a whole lot of culture that we have right with us, and we just have to take and stop and look at it. I'm a professor of Japanese popular culture, and I spend a lot of time thinking about how culture moves from one place to the next, and how both culture and places are changed in the process, how culture reflects the societies that produce and consume them. And one of the big secrets of being a professor is I learn more from my students than they might learn from me. And my study of emoji has been thanks to conversations with students. And I've talked with students all over the world about emoji. Students in the United States, students in Japan, Germany, Vietnam, students of all ages. I recently gave a talk at the Kansas City Japan Festival, and in walks this 7-year-old. She's dressed head to toe in emoji. Emoji t-shirt, emoji bracelet. She knew everything about emoji and how she wanted to use them. In fact, I gave her my business card, and I said, keep in touch with me. Let's talk 15 years from now, future professor. And I've received emails, like one from a grandmother in Colorado, asking me if she were using emoji correctly in her text with her 16-year-old granddaughter. And that's something we might ask ourselves with emoji. Are we doing this right? So if you look in your phone, one of the first things you might notice is that we carry a lot of Japan with us in our phones without even noticing it, because Japan is the place where emoji began. And one lesson that emoji can teach us is cultural literacy. I'm borrowing a term from Edie Hirsch from way back in 1989, that to fully interact with the culture, you need to know more than just its linguistic words. You need to know its belief systems, its history, and importantly, its popular culture, for these are the glues that cement societies. So what are emoji? When I ask people in the United States, they think the word emoji is English, that it comes from either emotion or emoticon, but actually the word is Japanese, emoji. It literally means picture character. But the Oxford English Dictionary chose the crying with joy emoji as the top English word of 2015. Is emoji English? Are emojis words? So what interests me as a professor of popular culture is that emoji are a product that's been created in Japan in 1999, but has spread globally. Since 2011, everybody has the same standard set of emoji programmed into their phones. This means that people in the United States have the same emoji in their phones as people in Japan. People in Switzerland, the same set as people in Singapore. New emoji are crowdsourced. They're vetted by a consortium based in California called the Unicode Consortium. And new emoji are constantly added. The base emoji come from 719 Japanese characters. To the best of my knowledge, no emoji has ever been removed. But do you know how many emoji we now have? As of March 5th, 2019, how many emoji do we have in our phones? Any guesses? 5 million? I like that. Seems that way sometimes. I'll tell you, 3,053. Which raises the question, do we have too many or too few? Do we use all the emoji we have? Or do we just like having them there? So as of March 5th, 2019, we got 230 new emoji. And Unicode often takes ideas of multiculturalism into account when adding new emoji. And many of the new emoji added this time have to do with the theme of inclusion, including emoji to represent physical disabilities. And I've received so many emails and links to the new menstruation emoji. Again, do we use all the emoji that we have? So when Prime Minister Shinzo Abe from Japan visited the United States in 2014, President Obama thanked him for emoji. In part, this is cultural essentialism. Abe didn't turn around and thank Obama for the Kardashians. And it shows how associated Japan has become with popular culture and the global imagination. But it also shows that emoji can also be a tool to soothe perhaps tense communications. Speaking of Kim Kardashian, she was one of 13 celebrities to create their own emoji set. And she gave us what the emoji universe was missing, the obscene middle finger gesture. So not just celebrities, but platforms around the world have been creating emoji to encourage people to do things. Like Twitter created an emoji to encourage people to vote in the EU referendum. Or if you look on Creative Commons, there's a whole world of emoji art, both original art created out of emoji or world masterpieces, translated, if you will, into emoji. World Emoji Day is celebrated every July 17th, the date on the emoji calendar. Even the Empire State Building was decked out in emoji yellow. I have been in Japan every July 17th, and I have not seen one World Emoji Day celebration. And this is a country that loves holidays based on wordplays and jokes. For example, August 31st translates to that would be nice, World Emoji Day. August 31st translates to Vegetable Day. So emoji were not the first pictograms to go global from Japan. The Running Man exit sign began in Japan in 1979. And if you notice, the person is running in a Japanese direction. I'll explain that in a minute. So what makes Unicode emoji so special? Well, they're such a part of our daily life, and we use them all the time. And our world changes when we stop and think about them. For example, take our texting culture. Back in the day, and even today, we use emoji to convey an emotional message. One of the first emoji used among mainstream users was the heart mark that was added to pagers in the 1990s. And the Japanese word for pager is pocket bell, wonderful Japanese word for a bell that rings in your pocket. But suppose you receive the message, just the word great. How do you know how to read the emotion behind this? Well, if it's coming from a 14-year-old, you might read it as great. Or if it's coming from your best friend, you might read it as great. But adding an emoji makes this clear. Or often in texting, we use abbreviations. Like in the United States, we often use LOL, laugh out loud, lots of laughs, League of Legends, what have you. But LOL is not often understood outside the United States. Or I was living in Japan in 2006, 2007, and I would receive text messages from my Japanese friends, mostly in Japanese, but there would be the alphabet SKY. I'm like thinking, sky? They want me to look up? And I realized this was a Japanese abbreviation for Supa Kukiyomanai, or super clueless. So emoji were pre-programmed into phones to make sure that we use the right emotional message when we text, to make texting more fun. And back in the early day of emoji, cell phones would have different sets, the same set but different aesthetics, and there'd be compatibility issues. The compatibility issues have been solved, but the aesthetic variants continue. For example, I don't know if any of you followed the burger emoji controversy of 2017. This is when Android 8.0 decided to put the cheese on the bottom of the burger. I'm glad you're laughing, because cheese on the bottom of the burger makes no sense. I'm glad they fixed that. Or labs around the world have been studying the emotional effect that emoji have on us. For example, the Group Lens Lab in the University of Minnesota has been studying the grinning face emoji. Again, different aesthetics according to different providers. Some of them look less smiley. Twitter looks downright surly. Or a lack of pre-programmed emoji were one reason why the iPhone did not sell well when it first came to Japan in 2008. So as I mentioned, since 2011, everybody in the world has emoji pre-programmed into their phones. So we have all these gestures and all these faces. But do we know what they mean? We have a lot of Japanese gestures, like bowing. Or my students often confuse the emoji with the surgical mask to mean doctor. It's actually the opposite, it's sick face. Or some of the most confused emoji around the world are those using hand gestures. In Japanese, this means good job. This does not mean prayer. It means please or thank you in Japanese. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Sleeping face and tired face look different in Japanese. And my students often confuse the building we have in our phone, the one with the H and the heart, for hospital. This is no hospital. This is a love hotel. Or we assign secondary meanings to emoji for things that we don't have in the emoji universe, like an eggplant and a peach take on different meanings. Or some creative American users were using the Japanese New Year's decoration, 3 pieces of bamboo with the middle piece sticking up the highest, to be the obscene middle finger gesture until Kim Kardashian solved that problem for us. Emoji have been used to assess national cultures. For example, Twitter found that the most used emoji to assess Japanese mood in 2016 was the vibrating heart to show excitement. The most used emoji in 2016 in the United States was the sad face. Emoji also show cultural lack, in addition to cultural diversity. For example, if you were a woman in the emoji universe before 2016, the only jobs open to you were to be a receptionist, and that's what the woman is doing who's tipping her hand. Because in Japanese, it's rude to point with your index finger. You palm. You. So you could be a receptionist if you were a woman, or you could be a dancer, either flamenco or Playboy bunny. Same-sex couples were added in 2012, same-sex families in 2015. As of March 5th, 2019, we have all different kinds of couples, gender and gender-free. Skin tone emoji from 2015. But it took until 2016 to say female professor in emoji. Google added diverse jobs for women in 2016, and in all fairness, male Playboy bunny dancers. You could also learn about cultural aesthetics. For example, the Japanese form of cute, kawaii, is the most manipulative kind of cute in the whole world. It's, I'm so cute, I'm going to make you want to love me. Pikachu is a master of it, as is smiling poop. Kawaii characters have big eyes to show emotion, small facial features, big heads. Poop has big eyes, big head, and for good reason, no nose. So lastly, can emoji alone tell a story? Authors around the world have experimented with adding emoji to text, but to date, I have not found one mainstream novel written entirely in emoji. There was a fad in Japan, especially around 2005, of adding emoji and printable characters to texts. And some creative translators have translated world literature, especially well-known plots that are in public domain, fair use, into emoji, like the emoji translation of Moby Dick into Emoji Dick. Random House created the OMG Shakespeare series to encourage young people to read Shakespeare. Or the infamous Emoji Bible of 2016 that machine translated and inserted, for example, the anger face into the word stranger. Being a professor, I have my students do the work. And we put emoji to an unintended use. And we translated literature into emoji. We did this in order to understand what makes literature an art form that is a more emotional and different kind of emotional expression, more affective use of language than other forms of writing, and also to assess the merits and limits of emoji. The first lesson we learned is it takes a really long time to write and read entirely in emoji. We also found that students were skipping the emoji. They did not have the cultural literacy to read. We also realized that emoji are facing the Japanese direction, like in the Running Man exit sign. Japanese is read from right to left, so all of the emoji we have in our phones are facing the Japanese way. So if you want to say the chicken will cross the road, it looks like the chicken's going to moonwalk backward. Emoji are mostly nouns and verbs, What if you want to say the green chicken will cross the road? So I'd like to bring us back to my original question for you. What happens when you look at the emoji in your phone? What can that teach us about ourselves, our world, and the visual art of communication? Why is the culture of emoji so important? So my emoji call to action for you, if you will, is to think about emoji in your phones and to think about the culture behind them, to learn what the gestures mean, to stop and think about how we use emoji when we communicate with each other. When we stop and we look at emoji, we learn not only about world cultures, we learn about our own culture. And it's also, emoji can function as an allegory. To stop and look at the world around us, the things that we take for granted in our daily lives. To stop and look at our warning signs, our buildings, our foods. But to do this, we have to have a curiosity. And we have to have the ability to pause and look. Thank you.